Hey everyone, weather today. A massive storm is approaching the United States over the next couple of days, bringing a host of problems, including the risk of significant severe weather. This includes damaging winds, hail, and tornadoes. In addition, a major blizzard is expected to impact areas such as the Central Plains and the Midwest. Significant fire conditions are also expected over the next couple of days, and a widespread area of 30 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts will affect regions from the Great Plains all the way to the East Coast. In today's forecast, we'll break down exactly what you need to know about this major storm in extreme detail. We'll begin with what's happening across the country right now. This afternoon, our storm system is already sitting over the Rocky Mountains, pulling in a lot of moisture from both the Pacific Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. A significant risk of severe weather is anticipated tonight, continuing through Wednesday, so we have a long stretch of severe weather ahead. This storm is also one of the strongest we've seen all year. It is expected to reach around 980 millibars of pressure, making it one of the strongest storm systems ever recorded in March in the United States in terms of barometric pressure. Severe weather today, Wednesday. There's a lot to cover in this forecast. We'll begin with the severe weather potential over the next few days. Some changes have been made to the forecast. Tonight, there is a significant risk of severe weather across the central and southern plains. A marginal threat extends into Iowa and Texas, while an enhanced risk is now in place for central and southern Oklahoma, as well as parts of North Texas. We will likely be live tonight covering this event, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel. The live stream is expected to start between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m., as this is primarily a nocturnal tornado and wind threat. A slight risk also extends into Kansas. Main concerns for tonight: damaging winds across parts of Oklahoma and Texas, as storms are expected to intensify rapidly. A few tornadoes are possible, a chance of an isolated strong tornado if a discrete supercell develops quickly enough. The environment is highly favorable for tornadoes if discrete cells form. However, this system will likely develop into a line of thunderstorms. If this storm system were moving just 6 hours faster, we would likely be facing a substantial tornado outbreak. The good news is that this should remain mostly a line of thunderstorms, which will limit the significant tornado risk. However, there will still be widespread damaging winds and at least a few tornadoes from tonight into early tomorrow morning across Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. Tomorrow, severe weather risk Tuesday. The risk of severe weather tomorrow is massive, spanning from Kansas and Missouri all the way to Florida. A large enhanced risk area has now been identified from Alabama to Oklahoma and Texas, where significant damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes are all possible. A slight risk also extends into parts of Tennessee. One factor we've been monitoring over the last couple of days is that instability will not be as high in the lower Midwest and Central Plains, slightly limiting the severe weather potential in those regions. However, we are watching a possible cold core tornado setup in western Missouri tomorrow afternoon, where an isolated tornado or two could develop. There is a high likelihood that we will be live streaming tomorrow. The timing will depend on how late tonight's live stream goes. If tonight's event runs late, tomorrow's live stream may be delayed, but we do anticipate covering most of the severe weather event. Make sure you are subscribed to stay updated. The primary concern tomorrow will be damaging winds. A hatched area has been identified in Louisiana and Mississippi, where winds could reach up to 80 miles per hour. Elsewhere, widespread damaging wind gusts between 60 to 70 miles per hour are expected. The tornado risk is also elevated. A hatched tornado risk area has been issued for Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, and southern Alabama, where 1 or 2 strong tornadoes are possible. However, this is a relatively conditional setup, meaning strong tornadoes will only be likely if discrete supercells form. A small warm sector tomorrow means there is limited space for storms to develop, which could limit the overall strong tornado threat. However, tornadoes will still be possible across a broad region from Georgia to Missouri. While the risk is lower in some areas, it is not zero. If the cold core tornado setup in Missouri trends upward, we wouldn't be surprised to see a 5% tornado risk added to parts of western or central Missouri. Fire weather and severe weather outlook in West Texas. At least a few fires are expected to ignite tomorrow due to extremely critical conditions in South Texas, the highest risk level on the fire weather scale. If you're in Texas, do not light any fires tomorrow, as the combination of strong winds and very dry air will create an environment conducive to rapid fire spread. Our severe weather threat continues into Wednesday, primarily along the East Coast. A marginal threat extends from Lake Erie all the way down to Florida, with the potential for damaging winds, hail, and a few tornadoes across this entire region. A couple of areas stand out for an increased tornado risk on Wednesday: Ohio to Maryland, including Delaware. A conditional tornado risk is possible in the afternoon. North Carolina and South Carolina, another conditional tornado threat, potentially including an isolated strong tornado. This risk depends heavily on the timing of the approaching trough. As of now, we expect the most significant storms to stay offshore near North Carolina. However, if this forecast shifts, we will update you in tomorrow morning's video if we have one. If not, we will definitely have an update on Wednesday. Meanwhile, in Florida, the primary concern will be isolated damaging winds and possibly a brief tornado during the morning into early afternoon on Wednesday. Tonight's tornado risk is increasing. So throughout the day, tonight's tornado risk has been increasing. Let's take a look at the tornado parameter values around 7 to 8 p.m. High values, pink areas, indicate a very favorable tornado environment, especially across western Oklahoma. Storms are not expected to develop until about 10 to 11 p.m. Central Time, meaning the most favorable environment might not be fully utilized. However, even at 10 to 11 p.m., very high tornado parameter values remain in place across western Oklahoma and Texas. If discrete supercells or surface-based storms fire along the frontal boundary, we could see the potential for an isolated strong tornado. Key factors to watch tonight: will storms remain surface-based? Will they initiate early enough to take full advantage of favorable conditions? If storms do remain surface-based, the tornado risk will be elevated, especially in western, central, and southern Oklahoma. There is also a tornado risk in North Texas, but due to a higher number of storms, the setup there is less favorable for significant tornado development. Even overnight, a few tornadoes remain possible along with damaging winds. Be sure to have multiple ways to receive weather alerts and a tornado action plan in place if you're in the affected areas. I plan to go live on the channel tonight around 10 to 11 p.m. Central Time, so make sure you're subscribed and click the bell icon to get notified when we go live. Tomorrow's tornado threat. By tomorrow morning, the tornado risk shifts eastward. Lower risk in East Texas and Louisiana by lunchtime. Tornado threat increases again in the early to mid-afternoon in the lower Mississippi River Valley, primarily in eastern Louisiana and southern Mississippi. A conditional cold core tornado setup in Missouri, where 1 or 2 tornadoes may be possible in the mid to late afternoon. There's a good chance we will be live again tomorrow to cover these storms, especially along the Gulf Coast and in Missouri, late Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. As sunset approaches tomorrow night, the tornado risk will shift south. Gulf Coast tornado threat increases in the evening. Overnight, the tornado risk moves into Alabama and Florida, though instability and wind shear will begin to weaken. By Wednesday, tornadoes will remain possible across the Carolinas, Virginia, and Maryland, but the overall severe threat will be lower compared to Tuesday. Timing of tonight's severe weather. Here's what to expect hour by hour tonight. 9 p.m., little to no storm activity yet. 10 p.m. to 11 p.m., a line of thunderstorms quickly develops in western Oklahoma and southern Kansas, 11 p.m. to midnight. Initial risk of damaging winds and embedded tornadoes increases. Midnight, early morning. The line moves eastward, affecting Oklahoma City and surrounding areas. While this will mainly be a damaging wind event, if any storms remain discrete or semi-discrete, the risk for a strong tornado remains possible. We'll continue to track this storm live, so stay weather aware and make sure you have multiple ways to receive alerts. Stay safe. Overnight, storm development and tomorrow's severe weather threat. By late Tuesday evening, storms will move into the southeast, impacting Alabama, Georgia, and Florida by midnight. The storms won't be overly organized, but damaging winds and a couple of tornadoes remain possible. By Wednesday morning, the system will weaken with only a weak line of thunderstorms remaining. Some storm intensification is possible in the afternoon across the Carolinas and Virginia. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next update.